Anthony Joshua has been rumoured to be fighting Tony Yoka very soon. Now, Spencer Oliver, I think, talked about this on TalkSport. But the main questions that arises around this fight is, number one, what chances do you give Tony Yoka against Anthony Joshua? And number two, is this fight big enough to sell in the UK? Is it commercially attractive to get the boxing fans into stadiums or into arenas to watch this particular fight? When we're talking about the first question, you have to look at what Tony Yoka has done in his recent fight. And I'll be honest, Tony Yoka's career has been quite disappointing. For a guy that won the Olympic gold medalist, he was meant to kick on. He was meant to become the next big thing, right? And it hasn't really happened for him. It's really disappointing. If you look at his last 6 fights, he lost to Martin Bakole, he lost to Carlos Takam, and then he lost to Riyad Mahi. I can understand losing to Martin Bakole because Bakole on his day is a good fighter. Carlos Takam is a very experienced fighter, right? So you can lose to Carlos Takam on any day. But I don't understand losing to Riyad Mahi, right? It's quite worrying for him. And I feel like he's not really had the time to develop, or he's not had the fight to learn and to develop as a heavyweight. And I think if you look at all the heavyweights, he's the one that we don't talk about the most, Tony Yoka. It's like he's a forgotten man, and he should be someone that is in contention for some title fight. So it's strange. And then he's won against Amin Boseta, and then Lamar Griggs, and then also recently in May, he then beat Aslam Yalev. So it is not a very impressive CV so far for Tony Yoka. He could do better. He's not very old for a heavyweight, but he's not young either, right? Currently at 33, he's getting on. So he needs to really get going. And Anthony Joshua fight, I think, is a good fight for him. Is he going to be a threat to Anthony Joshua? I think he could be. And although I think Anthony Joshua has diminished quite a lot, I think Tony Yoka is definitely not someone that could cause Anthony Joshua a whole lot of problems. I think Tony Yoka is a decent fighter, but I think even at this point in Anthony Joshua's career where I think he's diminished, I think he's still got something in him that could beat Tony Yoka, that could knock Tony Yoka out. So I think Tony Yoka will pose some sort of threat, but I think Anthony Joshua's experience, having fought at the top level, 2-time heavyweight champion, I think that would tell. I think that will stand him in good stead, and I think he will get rid of Tony Yoka in the middle to latter rounds. I think it's a good fight. And for Tony Yoka, it's an experienced fight for him because he needs to kick on, as I said, and this is an opportunity to fight a 2-time heavyweight champion, learn something, develop your career, and maybe try and get into a title contention somewhere. So good fight for Tony Yoka. Now the second question, whether this fight is commercially attractive to the boxing fans, to us. I mean, if you look at it, Anthony Joshua is still a big seller. I mean, I know a lot of people like to say that Joshua is done, and I think Joshua is not the same fighter that he was a few years ago. But I still think Joshua has the name to sell this fight. At least at the O2, Joshua should be able to sell this fight without taking it to Saudi. Now, do I see Turki Al-Sheikh and those guys getting involved? Absolutely, because, they won these fights in Saudi Arabia, and I think, they will put it on, and they'll put a decent undercard onto this whole card and make it quite exciting. But I think that if it is to be staged in the UK, I think it definitely sells out the O2, 20,000 arena capacity. I think it sells that out. So look, it is a stay busy fight for Anthony Joshua. He's coming off his shoulder surgery, so he definitely needs a fight that he can warm up to. Now, what we want to see Anthony Joshua do next year, early next year, 2 fights, is the Tyson Fury fight, and that's the only fight that makes sense for Anthony Joshua. And then maybe retire after that, because I don't think Joshua, has got anything else to do. If he fights Yoka and fight Fury twice next year, then I think it's time. Now, is the Deontay Wilder fight viable at this point? I think so. If he fights Yoka and Tyson Fury is still running around and doesn't want to fight Anthony Joshua because he wants the Alexander Usyk fight, then Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, I think, is still attractive somehow, because I think people will still want to see that fight because of the jeopardy and the nostalgia, right, that we had for that fight that never happened. So, look, it's really interesting. Anthony Joshua versus Tony Yoka. If it happens, how do you see this fight playing out? And, number one, does Tony Yoka have any chances against Anthony Joshua? And number two, is this fight exciting enough for the boxing fans? Does this fight excite you? Get in the comment section and let me know what you think about this potential fight that is meant to happen soon this year. My name is Bright. This is the Bright Show Podcast Boxing. If you enjoy boxing content, then please don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave your comments in the section below. I'll see you guys on the next one.